It's one of my favorite weeks of the year because we are cutting and sewing our ginger. It is so heavenly smelling right from the beginning and all summer long, and I can't wait to harvest our fresh baby ginger in the fall. And friends, welcome to live Q&A. It's Petra here at Fruition Seeds, sending love from our thawing gardens to yours. And yes, let's talk ginger. Let's talk microgreens. What do you want to talk about? It's live Q&A, so jump right in and don't be shy. And I love to begin all of our Q&As with a story, song, poem, with something to begin our time together. And this morning, I'd love to share this poem from our dear friend, Digger. It's called Joyful. Like a sunflower seed, we are here to more than just survive. We are here to be broken open, to grow, and transform the world in a joyful kind of way. One more time, like sunflower seed, we are here to more than just survive, but to be broken open and to grow and transform the world in a joyful kind of way. And this is a beautiful poem that you'll find here in our Rise and Shine Starting Seeds with Ease book, and you can get it as an ebook or as a paper copy as well. You'll find the free PDF on our website, fruitionseeds.com, and if you'd love the paper version, we just got our latest edition in the mail, and they are so beautiful. So I look so forward to sharing this with you. And without further ado, let's talk ginger. What do you want to talk about? I just want to make sure that you know that you can grow ginger. It is one of the most difficult plants to grow, especially in short seasons, but there's also nothing like eating baby ginger because this is fully mature ginger and it looks just like you would see it at a grocery store. And what you'll harvest in the fall, here's a beautiful photograph of Heather and our beautiful community connections coordinator. And take a look at those rhizomes. They look more butter gold. That's baby ginger that is so much more sweet, and it's practically fiber free. So it just melts in your mouth and it is amazing. So what you harvest is unlike anything that you'll ever find at a grocery store. And it is one of the more challenging plants that I've ever grown, but we still grow so much of it every year because there's just nothing like it. And all of those leaves, you smell them even as they're first emerging in the spring and in your home, and rub them between your fingers. Pancho, come on over. I know, I hear you. Hi. And so it smells so full of those ginger volatile oils. So all summer long, it's one of my favorite things when people are in our garden and they're like, what is that plant? And who's seen ginger growing? So many people don't know what ginger looks like. And so I say, oh, I don't know. Maybe let's like rub our fingers over these leaves and then see if we can smell. And so I love when people just start rubbing their fingers on the leaves of ginger and then smell them and then realize, like, is this ginger? And it's always such a revelation. And maybe I'm just 5 perennially, but it endlessly gives me joy. So there's so much to share about ginger. It is not the easiest to grow, but just like riding a bicycle, you just need someone that's there with you to show you the ropes, to encourage you to keep going when you fall off. And so we've created a lot of resources so that you are not alone. So we have our totally free Grow Your Own Ginger Masterclass. So that is a series of classes. Perhaps you've already taken it, so many of you, as almost 10,000 people have, which is so exciting. And so that is just step by step, season by season, setting you up for success. And also we have a webinar about it, and we just shared it last night, but I'll be posting the replay. So if you haven't already joined our Sewing and Growing webinar series, go ahead and do that, and then you'll get the replays as well. So there's so much to share, and I can't wait to share more. But friends, this is live Q&A, so I'm going to jump right in. And oh, I see Joe asked a fabulous ginger question. Can ginger leaves be used too? Yes. Absolutely. So all of these leaves, they are essentially, think of lemongrass, but it's ginger grass. So it's similar to lemongrass in that you would never eat lemongrass in a salad, right? It's really fibrous, but it is full of incredible flavor. So all of these quite fibrous leaves you would never put in a salad, but whether it's tea or infusing it in coconut milk, it is wonderful. So actually most of our ginger, we wait to harvest until after frost, because that way we're optimizing our rhizome harvest. But there are usually about 50 plants that will harvest just a few weeks before frost. And Heather in this photo is holding one of them. And you can tell because look at those greens, right? They're very green. Once the temperatures start to get more cold, that's when the leaves start to turn yellow, start to turn brown, they start to die back and senesce. And so that their flavor isn't as potent at that point. And so if you're wanting to harvest for tea, leaves for tea, then I recommend harvesting right when you start to see those green leaves starting to tinge yellow, and then you'll get the best of both worlds. There will be the biggest rhizomes that you can possibly have for that time of year, but also you can have your cake and eat the tea leaves too. So let me jump back to the top, and it's live Q&A and so much fun. Thank you so much for joining in. Lee, good morning. Such love. And Lillian says, we got 2 inches of snow this morning in Tucson. Oh my gosh. That's incredible. I remember spending I spent 4 winters in Tucson, and I remember we had 1 inch of snow in the middle, and it was so surreal to see those beautiful saguaros and Mount Lemon with all of that snow. Sending such huge love to Tucson, Arizona. I love the ebook. I printed it yesterday. Perfect, Tiffany. I'm so glad. Yes, so Rise and Shine, when it's full color when you get the paper copy that's spiral bound, but when you get the ebook, it's more black and white. It's perfectly set up so that you can print it on your home printer, and it's not going to go through 10 ink cartridges. So I'm so glad that you printed it, and make sure there are these things called margins around the edges that you can scribble all kinds of notes in, and I hope that you do. I love when people share notes of their beautiful ebooks printed out and just with soil smears, and you can tell they're living, breathing documents of joy. And Tiffany says, thank you. And Lillian says, I love ginger. I need to grow it. Yes, we are here to help, my friend. Don't be daunted. And yes, Mars asks, when you say you can put ginger greens in the Cuisinart, do you mean a dehydrator? And when you start dahlia tubers, are they separate pots the best way to go? So when I say I put the ginger leaves through the Cuisinart, I do in fact mean the Cuisinart. So I like to, rather than drying them as great big leaves, it's like 50 plants that we're dehydrating and drying for tea, so it's kind of a lot. And I find that if we chop them up into smaller pieces and dry them like that, then I'm just making a couple gallons, right? Like big glass jars of ginger leaf tea instead of like great big bags. So we put them through the Cuisinart first, and then they dehydrate incredibly quickly and concentrate really easily as well in a small volume. So yes, I totally mean a Cuisinart, and we totally dehydrate them. Thanks for asking. And your second question, when do you start dahlia tubers inside, and are separate pots the way to go? We start them 4 to 5 weeks before final frost, indoors. And here's the thing about dahlia tubers and ginger as well. As they're breaking dormancy, they're really susceptible to mold and to rot. And so it's really easy to overwater them, and especially dahlia tubers. Here's literally what we do. We plant them into pretty large containers. So just large enough so they can lay flat and be just fine in that capacity. And then we're planting them in like really moist potting mix, and we never water them again, literally, until the first sprout emerges. And so that way, once that sprout emerges, we know there's a root system underneath and they're not going to rot. But literally, I can't tell you, I've rotted thousands of dahlia tubers trying to sprout them and being like, I don't know, I think maybe just a little more water. And I've sprouted many tens of thousands more, but I have killed certainly, I have to imagine it's close to 1,000. So many. I'd rather not think about it. So it's important when you're starting your dahlia tubers indoors to plant them 4 or 5 weeks ahead of your final frost, to plant them in moist potting mix, and don't water again until you see a sprout emerge. And yeah, err on the side of dry every time. And thanks so much for asking, my friend. And Jonathan says, good morning. Good morning, Jonathan. And Sarah says, good morning, Petra. Sending you so much love. Sending you so much love. What are you baking today? And what brilliant message will you put into your baked goods, I wonder. These are persistent questions in my life, Sarah. Now you know. And you and Matthew and your people are such a light in all of our lives. Thank you. It takes one to know one, or 1,000, or 1,000,000, and hopefully there will be more times that we can all actually spend together in person one day. But in the meantime, I'm so grateful for these wild gods of technology that hopefully can make us a little more human somehow in this time. And Kara says, Zone 5, Zone 4, should I be starting my poppies indoors? Yes, almost. Not quite. Actually, fast forward next Saturday for a Q&A, I'm planning on doing a whole thing on poppies. So that will be a cliffhanger. But yes, I would wait a little bit longer. We actually don't start our poppies till the first week in April. So then we're planting them out at the beginning of May. That's our strategy. But stay tuned and can't wait to share more. And oh my gosh, so many. Susie, good morning. And Eli says, getting ready to sprout my ginger. Cut yesterday, waiting to heal. I'm so excited. Thank you. Yes, in 2 to 4 days, you should be good to go. And maybe I'll just dive in. So if folks are interested in ginger, so take a look. This is a big piece of ginger, and this can grow quite a bit of ginger, but if I divide this up into 3, 4 pieces, I will effectively get triple, if not quadruple, the ginger from it. And so if you get a big, beautiful piece like this, in our ginger masterclass, there's a whole session on really breaking down what to look for, because every single rhizome is really unique. Each one is snowflakes, just like us. But here's the keys to look for. You want a 2-inch piece is good, 2.5 is great, 3-inch long piece is the dream, and then you want 3 eyes or nubs, effectively growth points per piece. So as long as you have those 2 aspects, minimum 2 inches, ideally 3 inches, with 3 growth points, 3 nubs, you're good to go. And then just use a super sharp knife. Make the smallest cut you can so that the surface area is the least possible. And then you're just healing them over, letting that glossy, moist edge dull and dry out. So glad you are sprouting, Eli, and that is so awesome. And Sarah says, not ginger related, no worries. I'm happy to talk about skunks and skinks and spinach and anything else any old time. But my 9-year-old son, James, wants to know, what is your all-time favorite plant to grow? Oh my gosh, it so depends. This year, it's less about a plant and more about a story and where I am in like the story of things. We have this pepper that I'm just really in love with, and it's our ají dulce crossed with habanada. And so and there's so much more to share about this story, but I cannot wait to see what it's going to look like in its 3rd generation, what it's going to taste like. They're the most beautiful luminescent peppers, and there's a really hot spicy line over here, and there's a really sweet floral line over here, and there's a line that's in between. And so of all time, we'll see. I have no idea. But for me this year, thinking about that pepper and what is going to unfold and that mystery is just quite tantalizing. And thank you for asking, James. Aww. And Jean says, oh, so glad you can join us, Jean. Yes, yes, yes. Thank you for the dahlia help. I started in the greenhouse much too early and kept watering. I know, it's one of the things that, you know, and I feel it too. I'm like, what can I do for you? I can water you. It's just like this foundational go-to that we have in our culture. And in some things it works well. Begonias, yes, every time, almost every time. But with so many things, it's just 2 steps forward, 1 step forward, 2 steps back. I'm so glad if I can possibly avoid any more dahlias rotting in your life. I am totally here to help. And Steve asks, so if you get an X-carbonator, can you make ginger ale? I don't see why not. Absolutely. And I'm so excited for you. And Jolene says, can you dig the ginger up in the fall and bring it inside over the winter? Here's the thing. Yes, and is one of my favorite phrases in the world. As opposed to yes, but. This is yes, and. So yes, you can totally dig it up in the fall, bring it indoors for the winter, and will it survive? Maybe, maybe not. But the and part comes in here. What you're growing, especially here in short seasons, is baby ginger. And I know it's a little hard to tell, but can you see, I mean, what you're planting is mature ginger, right? That golden, you can see it has a thick gold skin. Baby ginger, on the other hand, by contrast, is that butter yellow, super thick, like the skin is literally transparent, and it's practically fiber-free, which means that it's one of the most delicious things on the planet, but it doesn't have a storage life. So it can still survive. It so wants to. Life is here to live, but it's not going to have the vigor and the tenacity of a full plant, a ginger plant. So it's really like you can technically save it, but it most likely won't grow. And if it does, it'll be really stressed. And so it will really struggle to then continue to surround you with ginger. A final thought on this subject. There's a much longer session on this in our ginger masterclass. But our friend Gray, our dear friend Gray in Cambridge, Massachusetts, he has this 8-year-old ginger plant in a pot. And he brings it out in the summer and then brings it in the winter. And he's very proud that he has an 8-year-old ginger plant, which he should be. And no one ever would say, that's a beautiful houseplant. I want one of those. And he stopped eating it years ago because it's totally gross and bitter and so stressed. So it's become this kind of running joke in their home. Like, here's our 8-year-old ginger plant and it's still alive and it's still so stressed. So there's a fun little story for you. And Louise asks how and when to plant dahlias. So you want to plant dahlias, you've got 2 options. One is you can direct sow them right in the ground when it warms and drains. So when you're planting your tomatoes, when you're planting your basil, when you're planting everything that can survive after the cold goes and it will no longer frost, you can direct sow them right in the ground. I prefer to start them 4 weeks ahead of final frost, indoors, each with their own containers. And so I'm pre-sprouting them indoors and planting them sprouted outdoors. And that's because dahlias are really susceptible to mold, to rotting as they're breaking their dormancy, and especially in cold, wet soil, they're going to rot that much faster. So I can't tell you how many dahlias I've rotted in this way, and now it's just not worth it, and we always transplant them. So those are your 2 options, my friends. And Tara says, oh yay, I'm doing poppies for the first time this year. So excited for next Saturday. Yes, me too. There's so much to share. And it's like once you get into this rhythm with it, poppies are super easy to establish. So many people struggle with them, and I can't wait to give you the keys. So, because there's no reason that you can't be surrounded by ludicrous poppy abundance with very little difficulty. It's just a couple little things that you wouldn't expect to keep in mind. And Kendall asks, when will you ship ginger to Virginia? We have been shipping, but it's now cold. It's been a nice it was a nice warm window of several days. Probably, honestly, we'll have to look at the forecast. Hopefully in the next week, we'll be able to ship again. But we're basically looking for 3 consecutive days well above freezing so that we can be consistently, like, you should get your ginger in 3 days from us. Probably 2, but we give 3 just in case, because we don't want that ginger to be damaged in any way from any silly shipping snafu. So yes, and you'll receive an email when we send it, but we are totally on it because we know we're planting our ginger, and we all want to be planting our ginger now. It's the perfect time. And really anytime now through late March is the ideal window. So we've still got a couple weeks, but yes, your ginger will be in the mail ASAP as soon as it's safe enough to ship to you, my friend. And Patty, good morning, Patty. Patty asks, is it okay to start tomato seeds in small peat pots with heat mats and lights? My grandson's kindergarten teacher wants to grow them with the kids, but soil blocks might not work well with little hands. Oh my gosh, that is so darling. Yes, they could grow in peat pots. The thing is, the peat pots are probably fairly small. Oh, I have some right over here. Or cow pots I prefer cow pots to peat pots every day, any day. But so the tomatoes will probably be good in this size 3 weeks, 4 max. And then they really need to be potted up into a 4-inch container. And so whether in some ways it would be better for the plant if they're not in a peat pot or cow pot, but in a cell block. I have this little 6-pack here too, but in like a 6-pack that you can then like take out the cell and transplant that into a 4-inch container. So to some degree that would be ideal compared to the peat, because the tomato growing its entire life in that small little space is going to be a recipe for a stressed, less abundant transplant. But oh my gosh, feel free to have your kindergarten teacher honestly reach out to me, and maybe we can even just hang out on Zoom with the kiddos too, and that would be really special and fun. And sowing seeds with children is one of my favorite things of all time. So thanks, Patty, and don't be shy. And Jessica says, hi from Minnesota, sending such love to Minnesota. It was such a joy to receive my ginger this week. What fabulous tips and tricks you sent on that beautiful card. Yes, I'm so glad you enjoyed. Every order of our ginger gets this beautiful card, which yes, it's beautiful, but has tons of awesome growing info. And don't be shy if you haven't already jumped into our free online Grow Your Own Ginger Masterclass, please do. It's deceptively simple, and I'm so glad you're enjoying it, Jessica. Don't be shy. And Jamie says, what is the pepper called again? The floral one? Can I buy them? Love your live today. You're so much fun to listen to. Well, shucks. I can't wait to actually share a conversation one day. Monologues are so boring compared to dialogues. But I digress. The pepper that I was actually talking about earlier is a pepper that we haven't started to share. We will share it next year. It's very diverse, and it's just like, it's this palette of all different kinds of colors, shapes, textures. It's so diverse and beautiful. But its parents we do offer, and they both are very floral and distinctly just like exotic. They're sweet peppers, but to just call them a sweet pepper is like not fair at all. So those 2 peppers are habanada, as in like habanero, but without any heat, as in habanada. So habanada, and also ají dulce. So that's 2 words, ají, Spanish for pepper, A-J-I, ají, and then dulce, D-U-L-C-E, which is just means sweet. So sweet pepper, ají dulce, and it is those two peppers, same genus, different species as classic capsicum and bell peppers. And so they just have this entirely other flavor profile that is quite heavenly and will make any pepper, any bell pepper, especially from the store, just kind of taste like slightly insipid water to you. So I'm so excited for you to taste those peppers, my friend. And Jean says, I am now saved my dahlias this year. Yes, they just came in along with my ginger. Thank you. I'm so glad. Oh my gosh, Jean, I can't tell you. I wish someone a decade ago had just been like, and don't water them ever again after you plant them, period. So I wouldn't have spent years trying to figure out the in-between. But I'm so glad that you have dahlias, and now you know. Plant them in moist potting mix and don't water them till they sprout, and you're gonna be so surrounded by beauty in no time. Oh, and Renata, thank you for sharing habanada. Yes, habanada is the name. And James says, that sounds so cool. You're combining a sweet pepper and a spicy pepper. Oh my gosh, James, I can't wait to share them with you. You will freak out about the colors, and honestly they like have this waxiness on the outside that is just like, I've never seen a pepper like them. They're so beautiful. I can't wait to share them with you. And grow ginger in a pot. That's what I need to do. Yes, growing ginger in a container totally works. Just make sure it's a big container, like literally 10 gallons or more. And the darker the color, the better. Anything that loves heat will just soak up that thermal mass all the more with a dark color. And so we have dark recycled fabric containers on our website that are perfect so that roots actually air prune rather than becoming root bound. And so, yeah, and don't skimp on the fertility is the other key thing with ginger and containers in general, but especially with ginger. And we have this lovely, perhaps you've seen, it's an organic ginger fertilizer that has tons of extra potassium and calcium, and it basically helps a ginger focus on rhizome development rather than just continuing to grow more leaves, which is what she'll do left to her own devices. So there's a few between hilling and then also feeding her with that extra calcium and that extra potassium. My partner Matthew loves amendments and like playing with nutrition, and so for years he's been dialing in this combination. And so be sure, whether you're growing ginger in a high tunnel, in your garden, in a container, don't skimp on the fertility, whether it's compost, a long-term slow release fertilizer, and certainly this ginger fertilizer. And this ginger fertilizer too, honestly, it's great for all root development. So we also put it on our beets and our carrots as well, and watermelon radishes and other delights. And Elizabeth Ann says, my aloe has 3 pups. Should I separate them or let them be? Oh my gosh, I don't have an aloe really close. Actually, there is a very interesting aloe, but it's probably not the kind you have, but I'll bring it over. I would let it be. Here is a really interesting aloe from South Africa, and take a look. It looks like an aloe, right? But look at all the edges. Can you see the little kind of spines on the edges of the leaves? And so there's this one main aloe, and then you can see on the back side there's all those other little pups. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and a few other little ones. And I'll probably divide this maybe next year. I'm in no rush. I generally let the aloes get all up on each other for some time. And honestly, they're just going to continue to do their thing, and they will survive in so many interesting scenarios. So if it would bring you joy to separate them and you want to share them with friends, by all means do. But know that your plant isn't going to be stressed. Either way. Thanks for asking. And Joas, what about dahlia seeds? When do you start those? Great question. We start those anywhere between 4 and 6 weeks before final frost. So if you have a grow light, you can start on the earlier side. And if you don't have a grow light, make sure it's no earlier than 4 weeks before frost. So we generally will start them a little earlier if we are trying to, get them as big as possible before transplanting them out. If you have a great light and you have lots of time, there's no reason to not start them earlier as long as you have the light so they're not going to be stressed and you are happy to keep potting them up. So there's really dahlias. Other things like tomatoes and peppers seem to be just a little more persnickety and not as abundant if they're not started at the right time. I find dahlias are a little more tenacious. So I'm so glad that you have dahlia seeds, and I can't wait to see what grows from them. Dahlia seeds are so unusual and exquisite, and every single one is totally unique. I can't wait to see them, Joe. And just a couple more questions, friends. And Jonathan asks, how do you store your ginger until you plant it? Great question. So you can just store your ginger by simply, honestly, keep it on your kitchen counter. Nothing fancy. Room temperature is wonderful if there's a little bit of airflow, but nothing directly on it. So rather than putting it in a closed container, I would just leave it on your kitchen counter and just set it there to enjoy. So yeah, super simple. But do plant it as quickly as you possibly can. It takes 4 months for ginger to grow before it starts to really invest in its rhizome development. So you really, especially here in Zone 5, late March, early April is final call for growing ginger, sprouting ginger that will actually grow and have any chance of growing a significant amount of ginger for you to harvest in the fall. And Kendall says, thank you so much, Petra. I am so excited to receive the ginger. I'm giddy with excitement as well. You should be. I am too. This is just the biggest joy to share. I am so grateful to share what we love with people we love. And oh my gosh, Lillian, when will we meet your partner? I've never seen him on a video. Matthew does not like being on videos. It's true. Admittedly, I don't really like it either, and I have dramatically forced myself to become comfortable with it. This is not like Petra instantly was out of the womb and just was like, yeah, sure, let's go live. It's been a long time coming, so now I don't think about it. But Matthew, I would not force this upon him. So you'll see lots of pictures of him. I should do a whole little post about him again. But yeah, I should definitely invite him on a video too, just so you could be like, there's a real person instead of the mythical Matthew. But yes, thank you so much for asking, and I can't wait for us all to get to know each other. And our final question, do you have any advice on growing or transplanting bromeliads? Oh my gosh, I honestly don't know nearly as much as I would love to about bromeliads. Come on up, Matthew. And there's so many different kinds of bromeliads. I do have a couple in the other room, but I'm not going to go run and get them. Hi. Pancho doesn't mind being on camera as much as Matthew. I think because he doesn't realize he's on camera. But I honestly don't know much about bromeliads. I've never actually, the only ones that I've transplanted, I just make sure that there's so many different kinds. I'm hesitant to give you any advice depending on what kind of bromeliad, it won't be accurate. So maybe let's talk and if you know exactly or can send us a picture of what bromeliad you have, that will be awesome. And I'm here to learn. Let me count the ways. And bromeliads are one of my favorite plants on the planet. So friends, I am so delighted that we get to share everything in our gardens together and grow ourselves as well as our gardens. And I am so delighted that I actually heard a sandhill crane. We were up on the hill behind the farm this morning and we heard it, and then we saw it, just one single sandhill crane, and it was flying south in the valley, which is all to say spring is here in little and fabulous fabulous ways. So sending love from our thawing gardens to yours. Can't wait to share our ginger, our seeds, our other resources, all these forms of joy that we have in our lives. We can't wait to share it all with you. And I'm so grateful for our friend Digger for writing this poem that we will finish our time together today with. The name of this poem is Joyful. Like a sunflower seed, we are here to more than just survive. We are here to be broken open, to grow, and to transform the world in a joyful kind of way. Once more. Like a sunflower seed, we are here to more than just survive. We are here to be broken open, to grow, and to transform this world in a joyful kind of way. Thank you, Digger. Thank you all. Thank you, Sunshine Soil Seeds. Thank you, ancestors, plant and human, who have co-adapted for countless millennia so that we now can share in such abundance. It is a joy to share it all with you. Sending love from our thawing gardens to yours. Until next time, don't be shy.